Hi everybody, this is Maddie, Constitutional Corner, and now Angels of Cool. And I am sitting here, well, with a man that probably needs no introduction, but I'm going to let him introduce himself. Who are you, sir?
Hey, my name is Jeff Gray. I'm with the Honor Your Oath YouTube channel, and I'm also with Photography is Not a Crime, Carlos Miller's Photography is Not a Crime.
That's great. And how long have you been with Photography is Not a Crime?
I think it's all been going back to about 2012, late 2011, early 2012.
Okay, so we've pretty much gone through this. You've gone through interviews with P&P, of course, and Amanda, most recently, Pink Camera Magic. I think really what I want to focus on now is how you do what you do and what you use to do what you do, because I haven't seen an interview with you out there explaining all this.
Okay, so you want to specifically focus on the actual what I used to call audits, but now I call them civil rights investigations.
Right. How do you find your civil rights investigations?
The way I find them, a lot of times, is just I'm a truck driver, and I'm just driving down the road. That's originally how it started, was just being a truck driver and seeing things as I'm driving down the highways and the side roads and things like that, government buildings or speed trap towns like Lottie and Waldo, and I just wanted to start filming and putting it out there for people to see.
Now, you also do go a little bit further than that, than most, well, they call themselves auditors. You're an investigator, obviously. But you also find other things like laws and statutes that you do public records requests on and things like that. How do you come across that stuff? Because I see a lot of people doing audits out there, but they're really spinning their wheels.
Well, I learned a lot about public records through Joel Chandler. I was not aware that you could go out and get these records, such as your, the phone calls if you've been out doing a civil rights investigation. Somebody called the police, or radio traffic, written reports, computer terminal transmissions, what the law enforcement officers are doing on their computers, sending back and forth to each other. So, well, in the state of Florida specifically, you can go make a public records request to obtain all of these documents and all these recordings, whether it's audio recordings, video recordings, written documents, things like that. It's a really cool thing, interesting thing to be able to do, is get these, make public records requests to get these reports and audio recordings from any kind of civil rights investigation you may have done. And it gives you a broader picture of how public employees are responding to these things, what they're saying to each other about what you're doing. It gives you a better idea of how they view citizens and our civil rights.
Okay. Now, you did change it from audits to civil rights. Is there a reason behind that?
Yeah, I changed it from calling it audits to civil rights investigations because I believe that that's more what I want to do when I go out and I do. If I go to a police station, for example, and I'm taking photographs of the police station, I'm not there for provoking confrontation or any of these things that a lot of the law enforcement officers and public officials say I'm doing. I go there, I engage in a lawfully, constitutionally protected activity, and my goal is to document the public employees and how they respond to a person taking photographs or making public records requests, to see if they respect our rights. And I'm not there to argue with them or confront them on the scene. My goal is to document how they respond, put that out on YouTube, put that out in the public where people can see it, and hopefully the public employees or the police officers, whoever it is that I was doing a civil rights investigation on, will see the video and correct their actions if they've made mistakes.
Okay.
And it also, if a law enforcement officer comes out and he's positive and he understands that you have a right to film public employees, and we have a right to know what public employees do on our behalf and our expense, I put that out there as well. It shows, to me, it's a good educational tool for both the citizens and public employees to watch and observe.
Right. So you use a lot of different types of equipment when you go out and you do this. One of the things I noticed is that you have a camera that can show your hands pretty much at all times.
Right. Over the years, I got my camera right here. As a matter of fact, I'll hold it up so you can see it. I don't know if you can see that really well. Over the years, I have learned from my experiences with doing these civil rights investigations. It's not a good idea, really, to have anything in your hand when law enforcement's approaching you. You want to have your hands free. That's why what I've kind of evolved to, for lack of a better word to use, is I use my Canon EOS M camera with a GoPro mounted on top of it. That way it's hanging around my neck like this. So when law enforcement approaches me, I can hold my hands up and they can see that I have nothing in my hands. You know, you don't want to have something black in your hands, like a black phone or something like that, in my opinion. And the other benefit of this is it keeps, other than keeping your hands free and for safety issues, is you can take still shots with the Canon camera while you're recording video with the GoPro camera on top. The GoPro camera that I have on top is set to a wide angle view. It's called Super View, 1080p Super View. That way it shows a wider angle of what's going on around you, and you can pick up more stuff that's happening.
We've been talking about your equipment. Can you talk a little bit more about how you do your investigations?
Yeah, sure. So one of the things I like to say, I refer to it as the golden brick road, is the public sidewalk. When you're on a public sidewalk, it is a traditional public forum. You have a lot of protections there. You have a lot more protections through the law and through case law than you do from going onto, say, a police department's property, or into a police department, into the building, or any other kind of public building like that. So I like to try to stay on the public sidewalk if I can. I try to stay out of the parking lots. I don't like to go walking amongst police cars or anything like that. And I try to stay out of the public buildings if I can, unless I have a specific purpose for being there. So if I'm going to be going into the public building, I'm going to be there to make a public records request, or to attend and record a public meeting or something like that. You know, a good legitimate business being there. So that way, you're protecting yourself. You're taking any wiggle room away from them that you can possibly can.
I love that word, wiggle room.
Yeah.
Brings back memories.
Came from Thomas Covenant,
Sure did.
Our good friend, the ethical guy.
Yeah, he was what he used to call dangerously intelligent.
Dangerously intelligent. Yeah, that's one of his favorite things to say.
But yeah, that's definitely. I mean, is there anything else to it? I mean,
well, another thing. Through my experience, I've been doing this, since 2011. Been in some lawsuits and things like that, and I actually had an opposing counsel in one of my lawsuits against an unlawful arrest actually tell me, why don't you just, when the cops approach you, instead of being quiet, just tell them who you are and what you're doing. And I thought that was a good idea. And you can do that without showing them your ID or telling them what your full name is. You can identify yourself by, if you've watched my videos in the last couple of years, 2.5, 3 years, when the law enforcement officer approaches me or any public official approaches me, I introduce myself by name. My name is Jeff. I'm an investigative journalist and civil rights investigator with PINAC News Services, and I'm gathering content for an investigative story that I'm doing. So right there, you've identified yourself. Your name is Jeff. You've told them who you work for, and you've told them what you're doing, and you've also established that you're engaged in a constitutionally protected activity. This takes more of their wiggle room away from them. This takes more of their ability to say that you're a suspicious person. They're still going to say it, don't get me wrong, but it's protection for you, the investigator, by establishing that you have a lawful, constitutionally protected purpose for being there. The other thing I like to do is, if they keep pushing the issue, asking for ID, I started carrying around a card. Let me see. This is my business card, PINAC News Services, right here. I carry this around. I give it to them. All the only information it has on it says PINAC News, be the media, photography is not a crime, civil rights investigator, investigative journalist, and it has my personal phone number on there. And I tell them that they can call that number if they want to. That goes to the news desk, and they can verify who I am. Of course, I would be the one answering the phone if they did that. But
well, you'd be the one I'd call if I had some news. Hey, Jeff, I need this published.
Right. So, if they escalate the situation beyond that point, and they start asking for your ID, my immediate response to them asking for my ID is, am I being detained? That's a good way to respond to do you have any ID on you? Am I being detained? So that puts them in a position of having to establish whether you're being detained or not. And it's a good idea to ask them questions. Am I being detained? Yes, you're being detained. For what reason am I being detained? Well, we got a call about somebody out here standing on the public sidewalk taking photographs. I don't get into an argument with them about it. I don't try to get into a wits, battle with them and try to outsmart them. They say, so let me make sure I understand you correctly. You're saying that the reason that you're here is because you got a call about me standing on a public sidewalk taking photographs, which again is, they're affirming that they're there because you're engaged in a lawful, constitutionally protected activity. And if it continues to escalate, I'll invoke my right to remain silent and have an attorney present. Once you're being detained, it's a good idea to go ahead and do that. It's hard to do. It's hard to remain silent. I get a lot of criticism about that. But if you really watch what I do, I'm only saying the same thing over and over again. I'm not giving them any other information.
Well, and a lot of what you say has actually become standard operating procedure in most people when they have gathering content for a story or something. You see almost every single auditor, civil rights investigator, or whichever path they're taking, whatever they're doing, but they all picked up on that.
It's legitimate. You're gathering content for a story.
Yeah.
You're doing a civil rights investigation, and this is part of the story, and you're gathering content for that story. So.
But I mean, do you have to be gathering content for a story to be protected under the First Amendment?
No, of course not. If you're filming a courthouse or photographing a courthouse, you have every right to do that. You have every right to be there and take photographs of that courthouse, and taxpayer dollars paid for that courthouse. We have a right to know what public employees do on our behalf at our expense. So,
right.
But it just, you don't have to have that reason, but it's a good idea to have that to tell them that, because it gives you more protection. You're invoking certain things.
So there's a lot of people out there that watch what you do, including myself, and have been very inspired to want to go and become more civically active. Is there any advice for new people getting into this that you could give to them?
Well, first of all, I want to say getting into this is dangerous. It's extremely dangerous, and I caution anybody that wants to do it and getting involved in it. I encourage people to do it in their own communities, but I think you should understand that you're getting involved in something that's putting your liberty and your life in jeopardy. You're not going to be very popular amongst law enforcement. We've seen well-documented cases of law enforcement retaliating against people and government retaliating against people, falsely arresting people, prosecuting them. My good friend Michael Hoffman is a perfect example of that. He was arrested, prosecuted, and actually spent time in jail for standing on public property holding a sign that said "Fire the TSA." So it's a dangerous thing. Just so be ready for that. I want people to understand that. I want people to know that if you start doing civil rights investigations, you're putting yourself at risk and your family at risk. They can retaliate against your family too. But other than that, it's an important thing for people to do in their communities. Do some research on it. Make sure you understand what your ID laws are in your state, whether it's a stop and ID state or not. Understand what the laws are in recording. You're pretty much safe on that if you're recording a public official anywhere. But learn your public records law. Start making some public records requests. It makes the videos, in my opinion, more interesting when there's 911 calls and radio traffic and so on and so forth are included. So yeah, it's an important thing to do. If you want to get started in your community, do it. Be careful, protect yourself, and make sure you're recording everything that happens. And good luck.
That's great. Well, I can't think of anything else. Can you?
No, I think we're good. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, this has been very eye-opening. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Jeff, it's a great pleasure. Thank you for having me over to your house today and having me over to this beautiful log cabin. This place is absolutely beautiful. In case you guys don't know it, this is Honor Your Oath. I'm going to make sure I leave a link down below. Make sure you keep an eye. If you want to see how the people do it that makes some big differences, definitely check out his channel. My name is Matty, former Constitutional Corner and now Angels of Cool. And this is Honor Your Oath, Jeff Gray. Thanks for watching, everybody. Remember to smash that like button. Thanks.